My wife left for a month-long trial with her lover, claiming she would decide between us afterward, but I made it simple by filing for divorce. At 34 years old, I never imagined my marriage would unravel so suddenly. My wife and I had been together for 7 years, married for 3. We lived in a modest home on a friendly suburban street, with neighbors we occasionally chatted with. One neighbor's son, though younger and more energetic, caught my wife's attention. At first, I noticed him talking in the yard or on the driveway, but I dismissed it. She was just being friendly as always. I had no idea it was more than just casual small talk. Then one Saturday morning, she sat me down, looking tense, and confessed that she was developing feelings for our neighbor's son. I was taken aback. She apologized, saying she was confused and torn between two worlds. My heart raced as I asked if she intended to end our marriage. She sighed and said, "No, not necessarily," but explained that she needed time to figure out if she wanted him or us. My jaw dropped at the audacity of it. She wanted me to stay on standby while she tested the waters with this other man. I found the idea horrifying, but she insisted, saying she needed a month-long trial to explore things with him and would return with a decision. A flood of emotions hit me: anger, betrayal, and disbelief. Who does that? I tried to reason with her, but she stood firm, saying that if I didn't give her space, she might forever resent me for holding her back. She framed it like some saintly compromise, a way to keep me in the running. I couldn't force her to stay if she had already drifted. Maybe it was better to see her true colors. So I reluctantly agreed. "Fine," I said, "do what you need." But beneath it all, I was seething, humiliated by her sense of entitlement. She packed hastily, leaving me alone in the house. The emptiness was overwhelming. I tried distracting myself with extra work hours, gym sessions, and outings with friends, but nothing could shake the reality that my wife had left for another man. She promised to return an answer, but the whole situation felt like a twisted game. If she truly loved me, she wouldn't gamble our marriage on a fling. Days passed and turned into weeks. Rumors from the neighbors trickled in that she was seen with him around town, looking happy and in love. Each new piece of information stabbed at my pride. Meanwhile, mutual friends wondered why I was tolerating this. My father, ever the voice of reason, told me, "If she values you, she won't need a month to figure out. Don't forget you have a choice too." His words struck me hard. I wasn't powerless. I could walk away. Eventually, my anger turned into resolve. Midway through the month, I consulted a divorce attorney. After explaining the situation, the lawyer confirmed I had every right to file, especially if the marriage was beyond repair. He guided me through the process, and when I left, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. Maybe it was time I took control instead of waiting for her to decide my fate. I followed my father's advice. I had a choice, too. So I made mine. I filed for divorce. I refused to be her backup plan if her fling didn't work out. That same day, I moved some personal funds into a separate account just in case she decided to retaliate. Then I began sorting through our belongings, separating what was mine and what we had shared. The process felt surreal, like I was dismantling a life we built together. But the memory of her smug announcement about testing the waters kept me moving forward. I told no one except close family about my decision. A few days later, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my wife's friend standing there. Having heard about her trial with the neighbor's son, she came to mediate, claiming my wife was only searching for clarity and that I should be patient. I shook my head and responded, "She left me for another man. That's not clarity. It's betrayal." The friend tried to guilt-trip me, saying I'd regret acting in haste. Calmly I replied, "I'm not the one who walked out. She can't have her cake and eat it, too." The friend left disheartened, but I stood my ground. Time dragged on. I half expected my wife to call every day with updates, but she rarely reached out. Maybe she was too busy having a great time with the neighbor's son, or maybe she was too ashamed. Finally, near the end of the month, she texted me, "Let's talk when I'm back. I'm almost ready to decide." Her audacity made me laugh bitterly. She truly thought it was all up to her. She returned exactly 4 weeks later, walking into our living room as though everything was normal. "I've thought a lot. I care about you. So let's figure out how to make this work," she said, her tone leaning toward a decision to salvage our marriage. But it felt more like arrogance than a genuine effort. I quietly listened, letting her think she was still in control. She explained that the neighbor's son was fun but immature, nothing like the stable partner she had hoped for. Then she tried to embrace me, offering a half-hearted apology. I felt a knot twist in my stomach at her casual approach. That's when I dropped the bomb. I had filed for divorce. Her face froze. "You what?" she stammered. I repeated calmly, "I won't be your second choice. I'm taking control. I'm done waiting for you to make up your mind." Rage flashed across her face. "You can't do that," she spat. "This is our marriage." I simply shrugged. "You bailed the moment you moved in with him. I deserve better." She demanded that I reverse the filing, claiming it was a hasty decision, but I refused, telling her I'd spent weeks thinking this through. Then she tried the emotional route, manipulative tears, claiming she was confused and only wanted to test a bond with a neighbor. I found her logic twisted. "You test drive a car, not a spouse," I said. "Marriage isn't something you can rent and return at will." My words hung heavy in the air, and she realized I was serious. That day, she stormed off, furious that I had ruined her plan to return on her terms. She ranted about how I was destroying our future, insisting she never truly wanted to leave me. I reminded her that's exactly what she did. She threatened to fight me for everything, claiming she'd take half of it all. I remained calm, letting her vent. After she left, I called my lawyer and updated him on her meltdown. He reassured me that our case was solid, especially given the affair. She might still get some what she wanted, but not as much as she threatened. In the weeks that followed, her approach changed. She told mutual friends I had abandoned her without reason, painting me as the cold-hearted villain. I set the record straight with those who cared to listen. Some people sided with her or stayed neutral. Meanwhile, the neighbor's son apparently wanted nothing more to do with her, leaving her scrambling for sympathy. She showed up at my father's house, tearful, trying to guilt him into swaying me. He politely asked her to leave, saying, "My son's an adult and he's made his decision." Eventually, divorce negotiations began. My lawyer and hers worked out the division of property. Since we had no children, that was simpler. She demanded spousal support, arguing that I had built up assets while she had contributed emotionally. I almost laughed at the irony. She had contributed by walking out. The lawyers wrangled for a while, but in the end, we reached a fair settlement. She got some money, but not half. I kept the house, the one I had bought before we got married, and some savings. The timeline and evidence of her affair certainly influenced the outcome. As the final hearing approached, she tried one last-ditch effort. She texted me, reminiscing about the good times and suggesting we could still salvage things. I won't lie. Memories of happier days did cross my mind, but the image of her packing her bag for him overshadowed everything else. I replied once, politely but firmly, "You made your choice. I'm following through with mine." She never texted again. On the day of the final hearing, the judge confirmed our agreement. My wife looked tired and perhaps a little sad, maybe realizing her dream of choosing between me and a neighbor's son had backfired. After the paperwork was signed, she stepped toward me in the hallway, eyes red. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted this." Her voice trembled as she added, "I was just confused, bored." I gave a small nod. "Confusion doesn't excuse betrayal," I replied. She reached out as if to hug me, but I backed away. "Let's not make this harder," I said. "We're done." She swallowed hard, tears welling in her eyes, but she accepted it. I felt a heaviness in my chest. But as I walked out of the courthouse, there was a sense of finality. The aftermath was surprisingly calm. We parted ways with no further drama. People asked about it, but I kept it simple. She left for a month to test her feelings, and when she returned, I had divorce papers ready. My father, though never one to say, "I told you so," gave me a knowing smile, proud of how I had stood my ground. I heard that my ex-wife moved in with relatives. The neighbor's son, however, quickly moved on to another fling, leaving her in the dust. What a love triangle disaster that turned out to be. Sometimes I catch glimpses of her around town. She avoids eye contact, a shadow of guilt crossing her face. There are no more demands or pleas for reconciliation. I suspect she's exhausted all her attempts. Maybe, just maybe, she finally realizes that you can't treat a spouse like an option. Some mutual acquaintances tell me she regrets everything deeply, but regrets can't fix what's already been destroyed. I hold no illusions about her chances of winning me back. Strangely, I don't feel victorious, just relieved. Free from a partner who was willing to discard me for a fling. Free from the anxiety of waiting for her to choose. Free from a mother's well-meaning but insistent questions about grandchildren. Now I'm free to rebuild my life on my own terms with honesty and self-respect intact. In a way, her month-long trial was a blessing. It revealed her true colors. If she was bored enough to experiment with another man, then it was better we parted ways before things got even more complicated. The divorce settlement wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. I've got closure, and I'm ready to move forward. My father says I might find someone more genuine in the future. Someone who won't treat me as second best. For now, I'm content. I'll focus on my career, hobbies, maybe travel. The quiet in my house feels peaceful, not lonely. Some nights I reflect on how quickly a marriage can fall apart once trust is shattered. A single sentence, "I'm leaving for a month to see if I prefer the neighbor," was all it took to destroy what we had. Would I ever speak to her again? Perhaps, but only polite nods if we cross paths. The old relationship is gone, replaced by a curt finality. And that, I suppose, is a price she pays for flipping my life upside down. Thinking she could return with triumphant, "I choose you." I turn her game around, letting her learn the hard way. I'm nobody's second choice.